So let's talk about a major shift in how we think about cybersecurity. For the longest time, it's all been about keeping the bad guys out. But today, it's really about finding them after they've already gotten in. We're going to take a look at a tool called AC Hunter that's built to do just that. For decades, we've been building bigger walls, stronger gates. But this one question, it just changes the entire game. It starts with the assumption that your perimeter has been breached. The bad guy isn't knocking at the door anymore. They're already inside, walking around your network. So what do you do then? How long do you think an attacker can just hang out inside a network without anyone noticing? The answer is kind of staggering. It's months. The industry calls this dwell time, and it's a massive, massive window of opportunity for an intruder to do some serious damage. The whole point of modern threat hunting is to slam that window shut, to take it from months down to just hours. So how do we do that? Well, here's the plan for this explainer. We'll start with why traditional security has this blind spot. Then we'll dive into the threat hunting mindset. After that, we'll see how AC Hunter actually works, what it looks like in the real world, and wrap up with its biggest advantage. All right, so let's dig in. How is it even possible for attackers to hide for so long? Well, the truth is, it comes down to a fundamental gap in our old school approach to security. This lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got your prevention tools, your firewalls and antivirus. These are basically the locks on your doors. On the other side, you have response tools, like your SIMs or EDR alerts. Think of those as the alarms that go off after something bad has been spotted. The gap? It's that quiet space right in the middle, where a really clever attacker can move around without setting off any of those alarms. And that brings us right to the mission. Instead of just asking how do we keep them out, we're forced to ask a much tougher and frankly a more important question. Are they already here? This is exactly what a tool like AC Hunter is built to answer. Answering that question, well, it takes a totally different way of thinking. You have to shift from just sitting back and waiting for an alarm to go off to actively going in and looking for clues. And that right there is the heart of threat hunting. So what is threat hunting, really? It's all about proactively searching through your network to find those advanced threats that have already snuck past all your defenses. The key words here are proactive and searching. You're starting with the assumption that someone's already in, and it's your job to go find the evidence. And I love this analogy because it just makes so much sense. If your firewall is the lock and your alerts are the alarms, a threat hunting tool is the detective who's already inside the house, quietly looking for those tiny signs that something is wrong. A footprint, a misplaced chair, a pattern that just feels off. Okay, so that's the what and the why. Now for the really cool part. How does this digital detective actually find those clues? The secret is, it's not about looking at the data itself. It's about analyzing its behavior. The whole process is actually pretty straightforward. First, AC Hunter just listens to all the network traffic data. Second, it uses some smart algorithms to analyze the behavior of all those connections, looking for anything that seems suspicious. And third, it ranks the systems that are most likely compromised, so the human analysts know exactly where to start looking. Now, one of the biggest red flags it's looking for is something called beaconing. This is a classic malware signature. Basically, a compromised machine will periodically phone home to a command and control server to get its marching orders. It's this quiet, rhythmic, regular connection that just doesn't look like normal human activity. It's like a faint, repeating pulse in all the noise. Another dead giveaway is the long connection. See, sometimes to stay under the radar, an attacker won't create a bunch of new connections. Instead, they'll just keep one single connection open for hours, or days, or even weeks. It's this super persistent session that lets them keep a quiet foothold, and AC Hunter is designed to spot those anomalies right away. And here's the really clever part. This all works even if the traffic is encrypted. AC Hunter isn't trying to read your emails or your messages. It's just analyzing the metadata. The timing, the frequency, the duration of the connections. Think of it like looking at the patterns on the outside of the envelope, not reading the letter inside. That's how it can find threats without ever touching your private data. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this actually look like for a security team on a normal Tuesday? Let's talk about going from all this data to real-world action. It all starts with the dashboard. And this is a game changer. Instead of just getting blasted with thousands of random alerts, the system gives you a simple, ranked list of the machines that are most likely to be in trouble. This is huge because it lets a team focus their precious time on the biggest risks first. But of course, not every weird connection is a bad guy, right? That's where safe listing comes in. Analysts can basically teach the system to ignore normal, everyday traffic, like a computer backing up to a known cloud service. Over time, this tunes the system and makes the real threats stand out even more. So you can kind of picture the daily routine. The setup is simple. Then, every day, you check the dashboard for anything with a high threat score. You investigate those flagged connections, you use safe listing to fine-tune things, and then you push any confirmed threats into your main security system to deal with them. It's just a clean, repeatable process. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, and honestly, this is a big one. The way AC Hunter is built gives it this massive advantage. It's agentless. And that means it gets total network visibility. This really highlights the difference. See, most security tools require you to install a piece of software, an agent, on every single computer. But an agentless tool is different. It just sits at a central point on the network and watches all the traffic go by, kind of like a security camera in a hallway. It's way easier to set up, and more importantly, it can see everything. And this is why that is so important. Think about it. You can't install an agent on the smart TV in the conference room, or that ancient manufacturing machine, or an employee's personal phone on the Wi-Fi. Agent-based tools are completely blind to those devices. But an agentless approach sees them all, closing this huge visibility gap that attackers absolutely love to take advantage of. Which brings us right back to where we started. Building walls and locking doors is still important, of course, but it's just not enough anymore. The real fight today is finding the threat that's already inside. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Is your security just looking for the break-in, or is it actively hunting for the intruder who's already hiding inside?